Hello, everyone.
Morning, gentlemen.
Are you all ready? Kelly, you want to sit over here? Are you good?
I'm good. Probably, I don't want the camera to see the, the hole in the back of my head.
What did you do to your head?
Oh, just hair loss.
We're live.
Okay. All right. So, Finance Committee meeting for July. Attending is Troy Patton, Scott Fry, Joe Edwards, and city employees. The agenda, this is actually a pretty open discussion, so hopefully we'll just kind of leave it at that. So if anybody has questions about anything, and truthfully, we'll probably be done before 9:55. But I just want to kind of go through the process of the budget process and what we've done in the past, and hopefully maybe what can be some groundwork for the future for the next city council and for the clerk treasurer, et cetera. So, first of all, we need to approve the minutes for May 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second it. They're
Approved, okay, done. All right. So, the one thing that I've been trying to work with Marla on, and they're doing a good job, is getting and typically is what you see in businesses is when you have a budget, the first thing is a working budget, and hopefully I do think we're doing better, actually. Like the last time, the discussion, what you guys put together was good. I mean, so hopefully that'll just keep getting better and better for the next administration and group. So the next step to any budget and actual versus budget process is to start graphing out, basically, you would typically do like revenues, expenses, or expenses. And you'd say like the trailing 12 months or trailing 24 months. And so that way you can see trends based on each of the areas. And in fact, Scott Fry and I were talking this morning just about like Toshiba, for instance, and not to bring them up, but for shipping, if now obviously they have a whole team doing this, but if shipping were 0.1% above trend, they would probably say, hey, what's going on? And then they would, and correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right, and then figure out what adjustments need to take place, if any.
Yeah.
And based on the trend, based on past history of what the coming months look like, and make adjustments accordingly.
Yeah, right. And they do that all the time, right?
Continually.
Yeah.
In every category you can imagine, and then some.
Yeah, right. So all I'm asking for is if we do it quarterly, and we go back and we do the trailing 12 months. So you could have Q2 to Q2 2023, Q1 to Q1 2023, et cetera. And all we would do is, it's just a simple, if you have the spreadsheet done, the graphs are pretty easy beyond that. It's just creating this trend so we can see what we're spending money on, what's going up, and maybe what areas of focus we need to bring our attention to. Okay, because the city's going to keep getting bigger. I mean, when we're twice this size, there may be more categories, more things we're spending money on. So, okay. So when I was going through the last year's budget and what we're going to do this year, and actually, like Kayla, I'm glad you're here because one of the things that I want to do, and I'm just going to say it openly, is I will not vote for a budget if we fund DWA. Everything they do needs to be moved into Westfield Welcome. I've asked for it one way or the other. I've asked for reports from them. I've asked for things from them. I don't get anything from them. So in my view, if we're going to spend taxpayer dollars and we're not going to see exactly what they're doing, then it needs to be under the purview of the taxpayer. So and I think. I don't know if people are in agreement with me on this or not, but, and I know I'm spilling the beans of what I want to do, but I will not fund $1 for DWA. And that's me personally, and if the other people want to vote that way, then they can do so as well. All right. That's one of the areas that I think, we clearly need to focus on.
Well, to your point, just to, not to interrupt, but to interrupt.
Yeah.
To your point, we've asked for information, we've asked for details so we can kind of get our arms around things, and I don't know, you know, I understand everybody's busy and I understand there's a lot of stuff going on.
It's actually been 15 months though.
But it
since-
seems like for some reason we just can't, we're not able to, maybe we're not allowed to, I don't know what it is, get our arms around that, and that's, I can understand your frustration in that for
I
sure.
mentioned it 2 times ago. Steve Latour caught me outside and he said, "Hey, it's not my doing." That's all he said. So I'm done with it. If Dan Ware doesn't want to present his ideas of downtown or whatever it is, I don't care. And actually, I don't even care if they came forward at this point, because that's not the point. If we're not gonna be responsible to the taxpayers, then the money needs to be back in the taxpayer coffers and be accountable for everyone. Okay?
Well, I think an example that's, like you say, the trailing 12 months, we've got an array of projects that have not met their price tag in the trailing 12 months. I mean, the downtown Westfield and Grand Park. And
Yeah.
there's probably State Road 32. It could be a disaster
Yeah.
if we're not careful.
Yeah. We just need to be diligent in reviewing
That's right.
everything. That's the other thing. I don't know what our budget is for Grand Junction or how that's working, but I would not kid you. I mean, if I said 100 people have not told me how many weeds are at Grand Junction and how it looks, I don't know what that is, but I'm not kidding you. Like through all the landscaping and everything. So I don't know what we're doing there, or maybe that's the look that we're going for. But and when I say 100, I mean no less than 100 people. When I run into, they say, "What is going on at Grand Junction?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Have you not seen all the weeds?" I'm like, so my wife and I went there the other day. We walked around about a week and a half ago, and I'm like, "Man, it looks." I told her, I said, "Well, maybe that's the look they're going for." I have no idea, so I don't know what's going on there. But even from a community thing, if we're doing events down there, I don't know if people are, I don't know if people say that. I doubt people will say it openly because they don't want to, but I hear it. In fact,
I've heard it so much that
yeah,
it's kind of, it's very true. If the people drive by there and say, "What is that?"
yeah,
That's,
it's getting bad. So I don't know if they're not.
I don't know, that's their business.
Or that is the nature of the natural plantings that are in the corridor. Some people think they're weeds, they're not, they're actually there intentionally because that's the native plantings. Same along the 31 corridor, same along, in the park that is, Freedom Park, I think it is, no,
Yeah.
Liberty Park down there, 161. Folks often to the naked eye don't understand the difference between what is actually planted and what is not. We do have services contracted. We have a specialized company that does the riparian corridor. They're the leader in the state for sure in that type of work. It's being managed.
Okay.
Well, the people need to be somewhat educated too.
Well, should we have to educate people though? What the difference between a weed and a plant? Why, I don't know.
I think part of that is the confusion also with, the fact that everything around, it's kind of chaotic around there, it's not done, it's not completed, that kind of stuff, so probably is the concept, if,
What's incomplete other than the buildings?
well, that's what I'm
not being
talking
there?
about.
That's what he's talking about.
That's what I'm talking about, it's still an ongoing project, the stuff around it's still an ongoing project as well, just,
The construction adjacent to the park, yeah. I
yeah.
understand.
So maybe it's just that, and maybe that kind of plays into that mentality of, the weeds, the complaints. So I think we all hear that, like, I think we all get those emails, those conversations, but.
We always have.
Yeah.
Since 31 opened, we've gotten regular emails about the condition of that landscape, and it is as designed.
Okay.
We did have a maintenance issue for a while until we hired Williams Creek to come in and start managing it, which is the specialist that does the Grand Junction as well, and it's gotten much, much better. But those things take years to stabilize and become what they need to be for so that once it gets to the point that it is mature, it doesn't require any maintenance. That's the beauty of the natural park. Very little maintenance, I should say. You would do invasive species control once a year. Other than that, the natural plants will drown out the weeds and you won't have those problems. We can set up an educational, Chris McConnell is an expert when it comes to these things. That's what his education background is. He's got a bachelor's degree in
I was gonna say, maybe to
Natural.
Joe's idea, maybe have the communications department put out a thing saying, hey,
Sure.
it looks like this for a reason or something. That could open up a can of worms.
It will. People will say they don't like it because some people don't like the color of my house. That's their opinion.
Well, you
Not ever gonna
You
make
pay for
everybody
your
happy.
house, they pay for the park. I mean, yeah,
But we are restricted in some of the things we can do in that corridor.
Yeah.
I can't just go plant whatever I want there because it is
Yeah.
a waterway.
okay, well, I didn't know, so when people ask me, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'll ask, you know.
Have them reach out to Chris McConnell.
So-
He can point to every single plant out there, tell you what it is and tell you whether it's a weed or not.
I assume they probably don't wanna do that, they probably just wanna say, hey, look, it looks like crud, and go from
Look at
there.
that. It's already better than what it was when we planted it.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, okay, so, another area, that, I wanna see, is a detail broken out of the, legislative, budget that we have with, I'm gonna say Baker Daniels, but that's probably not right, but it's, who's the law firm that we pay lobbying and state services to?
I think it's Baker Daniels.
Is it?
We pay Barnes and Thornburg to lobby
that
for
who?
us.
Okay, I wanna see the exact breakdown, line by line, of everything they did for the year.
Yeah, they're on a retainer. It's,
Yeah.
I think $50,000 a year. We pay them a monthly payment.
Yeah, I just wanna see the breakdown of everything we did. I mean, literally, line by line, item by item on that.
Clerk can print off the invoices, I'm pretty sure. I can help you with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the retainer that goes to Barnes and Thornburg every
I
month.
can't say I've looked specifically at an invoice. I will look at it and let you know what we've got.
Okay.
There's detail there.
Okay, all right. Legal fees, obviously, it's still a point of contention. This is gonna actually go to the clerk treasurer's office also. That should be no more than $10,000 budgeted for the year. Same with the city, that hopefully is going to come down, from what I'm understanding, possibly will next year
$10,000 for legal services for the whole city?
for clerk
No, no,
treasurer.
Clerk treasurer.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine.
I did have a conversation, with Scott Willis the other day.
Yeah.
And while I know he's close to deciding, and I don't know who that is, I told him I'd like the opportunity to meet the person, assuming as we are both, in our positions elect. There is a statute that requires that if we need our own counsel, that we can have it, but I'm hoping that.
We shouldn't be anywhere near the legal fees that we're spending. In fact, for city council, it should go to zero. I mean, I think I said that during last year's budget process, and again, I mean, I think these are items that have to happen, I mean, if we're gonna advance forward, so, for city council, we shouldn't have any legal fees. Whoever's, I mean, we shouldn't have them this year, I mean, but we do. I mean, anyways, so that's one area of focus that we need to pay close attention to. And feel free to yell at me, guys, I mean, or
No,
interrupt me.
you're spot on. The only thing I would ask, Martha, do you know when you're gonna have the opportunity to meet with them?
Well, he's out of town this week and I'm out of town next week. But we talked about maybe doing like monthly lunches to keep each other updated.
Yeah.
I had just gone to a conference and said, hey, I've got some contacts and just,
Yeah.
conversation to have basically. So I think that'll go well. The concern is, does the clerk treasurer's office feel protected by an attorney?
Sure, and they should, and the city council should as well. And
Right.
if that can operate the way that it's supposed to,
Yeah.
yeah, there's no reason for three or multiple
Right.
attorneys.
Right, I do agree with you there.
There's just not.
Right.
Yeah, the city attorney now should be serving both the council and the administration. But,
Well, hopefully we'll see some change there.
yeah, there needs to be some change
Yeah.
there.
So, and Marla, while I'm picking on you.
Yeah.
Is going through, in the budget process for the clerk treasurer's office.
Yes,
When you look at the staffing,
yes,
and this is, I would encourage, by the way, every department to put together a memo of what they're looking for. And I think this will be reiterated at city council tonight, of what they're looking for in terms of expenses, employees, and what they had last year, what they budgeted last year, the people they had budgeted, what they didn't fill, and what they feel like they will need to fill. So for instance, and I'll come back to you here in a second, like Kevin, I don't know if we ever filled the one city position or not. I thought we didn't. Oh, we did?
Yeah, we're fully staffed.
Oh.
We just lost a couple people this year, but beginning of the year, we were fully staffed.
Okay, so for instance, like, even though new home permits are obviously still, or new home buildings doing well, I mean, we just, for last month, we finally saw a break and actually home prices dropping like 3.9% for the first time. Depending on, if the Fed continues tightening monetary supply in M2, that actually will probably likely bring residential housing down. Anytime we've had this situation, it always does, so maybe that'll give some reprieve, and I'm an economist by night, okay, and I'm just doing this by day, so, that's just kind of some thoughts I have in my mind on that. From a clerk treasurer standpoint, people can argue this or not argue this, whether the mayor and the current clerk treasurer are AWOL for the rest of the year. Doesn't really matter to me, but the truth is, I don't think we should have to fill your position. We should be able to save some money by not filling your position, truthfully. And so, obviously, you'll take Cindy's role, and then your role should go away, so we should actually be able to alleviate some of those budgeting dollars. I know that's probably not what you want to hear me say, but, that's just my opinion. The truth is, I would encourage you, when you go in, is to look at the clerk treasurer's office and look for efficiencies. Because I am confident there are efficiencies that can be gained there. Okay? And I would say that in any department, when we're, and we have, we have 83 people that work for us across the country. Whenever I'm looking at different, I'm going to Dallas to meet with 4 of our teams. When I go and talk to these people, I always ask them, the first thing I do is I say, what are we doing good, what are we doing bad, and what efficiencies can we gain? That's every, it's all, and they probably get tired of me hearing it, but you know what, everybody seems to get behind it, and we try to figure it out, and we do better, and I'm sure at work.
Pretty much every business is gonna do that, right?
Yeah, right? So I think that we should do the same thing, and I know this is government and not business, but to me, I think it's all the same. And we should say, hey, what are we doing well? What do we need to work on? And what efficiencies can we gain?
They used to, this has been many moons ago, but there used to be, we'd survive every year of looking at premium dollars less, as relationship to employee numbers.
Yeah,
And if your premium dollars are, declining, your number of employees have to decline. Doesn't work that way here so much, but maybe it should, because, you've got, we've got dollars coming from different areas, from businesses, from homeowners. Homeowners are the ones that it kind of catches.
yeah.
People like me who are poor and disadvantaged. But anyhow, it really does. It matters to
Yeah.
them. And I have a lot of people that talk to me about
Yeah.
that.
But one thing, and this is not Westfield, but this is government in general. Whenever we continue to grow government, and we say, hey, our budget is 50 million, we have 50 employees. We get to 100 million, we have 100 employees. It should never work that way. It should actually be, we should be able to add, we should have economies of scale. When we go from 50 million to 100 million, we should go from 50 to 60 maybe. You know, I would think Board of Public Works, I mean, I would think those are the areas that obviously we'd need additional people. I mean, you know, but this is just my overreaching thought process. On Grand Park, I mean, you know, I would encourage you to figure out a way. I would have William work month to month, personally. And even at that, I would go back and I'd look at what our budgets and revenues were before and what they are today, and what efficiencies we can gain. And truthfully, Matt, the reason I would do that is I would not only do it for today and looking at it from a city perspective, but I would look at it, depending on what Grand Park does, it actually shows that we're actually looking at things in the right perspective. You know, and whether you and I were talking one-on-one or not, I would say, hey, this is a great way for you to show whoever takes possibly, or takes a look at it and is in charge, says, this is what we're doing. You know, because they don't listen to these meetings, right? So, okay. I would do the same thing in Westfield Welcome. I would do, I mean, anything that we can, any areas that we can focus on. That's what I would do. I mean, I have some other pinpoint things. I mean, I'm not gonna get into all that. I do wanna talk about health insurance real quick. I met with, the individual that does the trust or whatever.
Yeah.
I looked at the expenses. They actually need to get him the next 6 months, because the expenses are more than what they were last year. So, I mean, we're not comparing apples to apples. But we also had a $1.2 million catastrophic claim in December, that went through, and that made the ratings go way up. So we would have saved a lot last year. That number's gone. We can't save that. But for anyone who's on health insurance as a family, this new plan is potentially less expensive for everyone. The single individual payer, it may be higher, right? But that's based on next year's estimates to the previous year's costs. So once that health insurance company gets their rating increase, that will their numbers are obviously gonna change. So, and if we can get them the next 6 months, assuming we didn't have another catastrophic claim, those costs, again, could be lower than what we are paying currently.
Yeah, we don't have the first half's claims data yet. June just wrapped up a couple days ago.
Yeah, I'm aware, yeah. But I think that's something that we need to really focus on.
We're working on it. We're still an ongoing process. We do have numbers back from them.
Yeah.
We also know that they're asking for some more information, which we're working to get.
Okay. I would encourage HR to look at it from a perspective of that anyone that they go to work with, because I think one of the things that I've heard them say in the past and possibly in this process as well, is that they say, well, the company that we're with helps us with enrollment, and they help us with this, and they're very, I mean, that's like a starting point. Everybody does that. I mean, right? I mean, that'd be like, I don't do taxes, but if you came to me and I was doing your taxes, and I said, hey, Jeremy, I'm gonna do your taxes correctly. Dude, I'm going with you, right? You know, right? Everybody does, I mean, everybody's doing them correctly. So I don't want the rationale this year to be, well, they help us with open enrollment, it's too late, you know, we can't get this done. And I'm not saying that we have to move.
We wouldn't probably move. We would still have NFP be our rep at some level.
Why is that?
Because we don't have the staff to manage every aspect of what we do from a benefit perspective, so we need a consultant. So keep in mind, we are fully insured, so the catastrophic
I know
claim hits our
Yeah.
gap coverage.
Correct.
It doesn't come directly out of our pocket. Otherwise, we pay for everything ourselves. So we're not paying an insurance company. I know you know how all this stuff works. We're not paying an insurance company for our losses. We are paying them out of pocket till it hits the
stop
5,000
loss.
stop loss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your stop loss costs are probably gonna go a lot higher.
They very well could,
yeah,
yeah, we
with
don't
the-
have those numbers back, should have them anytime, which will include that one
So
large claim.
the trust covers the stop loss.
The trust is a traditional PPO type insurance. They are fully funded themselves, but for us, it is back to the way we were quite a while ago, 5 or 6 years ago, when we were carrying you pay somebody to carry an insurance card, essentially. In our current setup, we pay as we go. So we'll get you a breakdown of what the last few years have yielded us, which has already been requested. But the savings that stay in our pocket if we don't actually spend them.
This is how Farm Bureau pays for hurricanes in the south. They have they spread the risk over
Right,
all the southern states and then sometimes it's not enough. But,
yeah,
it's just,
And that's how the trust works too. We would be the biggest fish in the pond, so we would be absorbing the risk of a lot of these other communities across the state.
there's some big ones in there,
They're getting bigger, but we will be the biggest one
Yeah.
if we join.
yeah,
And there is a nice setup that it has some guardrails, that's a little bit intriguing.
yeah,
The minimum is a 2% increase. We came in less than that last year. Their average is
I
6.
don't think so.
I do. It was 1.9 something.
It was budgeted,
It was budgeted higher,
It was
but by the
budgeted
time.
9%
Yeah,
higher.
and then it got reduced to about 7, and then when we actually renewed, it was 1.9 something.
Okay, I thought it was like 4.
I thought so too, but yeah, okay.
I think 4 was the last number we discussed, but it ended
Okay.
up under 2.
Okay,
The average in AIM was 6. The maximum, which is where we could
the average was
benefit.
4.1, I think, in AIM. I've got
6
I've
was
got
the number that they
spreadsheet.
gave me, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. The maximum is 9, so, and we would fall in there somewhere. So we would have a minimum of 2, which is what we maintained last year and hopefully will again this year.
There's no way you're gonna be at 2 with a catastrophic claim in December. You think you'll be at 2% increase
We're projecting around 5 right now and we're still early on, so.
with a $1.3 million?
Mm-hmm.
They must have been overcharging us before then. I mean, okay,
They're not charging us, they're just managing our plan, we're paying ourselves.
I'm aware, okay, go ahead,
I'm not arguing with you,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, the two plans are not the same thing.
yeah,
And we have a lot of other things in place, which you'll get a breakdown of,
yeah,
that help us control our risk,
yeah.
like the clinic, for example.
Yeah, the families, it's definitely, the AIM, the AIM one is definitely cheaper for families. I mean, the cap is cheaper. There are some things that, it's like a $10 copay, there are some things there, I mean, that you don't have currently. But the complete out of pocket, I think there were 37 families that reached, or 37 lives that reached the cap last year, I believe. I may be wrong on that number, but if that's the case, the AIM program, even had you moved, would have been, well, we definitely would have saved a lot of money before the catastrophic claim, but that's water under the bridge. But based on those numbers, those 37 families would have saved a pretty decent amount of money because they hit the cap. So again, the individuals, people that are on the individual plan, the health insurance, those are the people that would end up paying more. They'd pay more. They would end up paying, it's not a lot, but and that's the 2024 rates compared to the 2023 rates.
so AIM is the.
Oh, sorry,
old,
2020, no, 2023 rates,
It's 3.
20,
3 to 4.
23.
AIM is the old association.
We're
of
doing
Cities
2024 compared to what they're paying
Correct,
now.
they rebranded themselves a
Okay.
number of years ago.
Yeah,
They, the real move in insurance companies now is to center yourselves upon a certain economic group, like,
yeah,
the one you think is the military. It's AAA, that means American Automobile Association.
yeah,
Is really what it means, but they aim their marketing towards people in the service. And as a group, our costs will go up as the cost in our group,
yeah.
will go up.
One thing I would actually encourage us to look at as a city, whether we use AIM or not, is United Health has a new program out there. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it's the Surety plan. And it works more like a Medi-Share Christian care ministry type thing. It is significantly less expensive. And it's been catching fire. I mean, I think, that
I'll call you back.
But it's a significant, there's significant savings there, because the way they're doing it, it's running on a percentage income budget based system. And I believe, I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but it's.
Like per employee would pay their own percentage based on what they make?
No. It works the same type of way, but is anybody familiar with Medi-Share Christian care ministry?
I'm not familiar with
health
the
coverage.
cost, I'm just familiar with the concept.
I've been on it for, I don't know, for a long time, ever since Obamacare, because that killed our corporate plan. So my premiums under a typical plan for my family would be probably around $1,700 a year, $1,800 a year, and that's with maybe a $5,000 deductible or something like that. Under Medi-Share, my premiums I pay are $740 something a month. It's significantly less, and the reason is because it works to the benefit of all those in the plan, as opposed to the profitability of the plan, which is what typical insurance does. And United Health they're the first ones to come out with this, and truthfully, there's a couple that have followed recently. I've been watching it for like the last 6 months, and it is a significant improvement in health insurance and health insurance costs.
Growing fast.
It is growing extremely fast. It's probably the fastest insurance-based group growing in the country right now. And I say that I researched it quite a bit 2 weeks ago, just kind of in preparation for this, because I'm a United Health shareholder, so I'm curious to what they're doing. It will cut margins of United Health, but it actually is a better delivery and better cost to the participants. So I would encourage our groups to be on. I mean, that's one of the significant things I think our HR group obviously should be doing, is obviously looking at those things, and that's maybe one thing you might pass along to them to research into, because that's something that if I was them, I would be on top of the trends and whatever is going on in that kind of industry. So, all right. Sorry, I know I'm getting off topic here. Okay, so I think for our next meeting next month, if we could get each of the department heads to write out what they're thinking, what they're expecting. Again, look for what they're doing well, what can be worked on, and what efficiencies they can gain. Whether it be from a technology standpoint, if there's things from a technology standpoint that we can do that, so in the future, we don't have to do X, Y, Z or something. I'm not familiar with with government technology. I mean, the only person I know is Jeff Jewett over here, who does like municipal software building things for governments, but I don't really know a lot about it, so. You guys have anything else on this? Okay, all right. Anybody, you guys have anything?
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
I apologize, I didn't bring enough copies, but, I gave Jeremy one, John one, you
Here.
can send it to whomever.
I've got it on
Troy
email.
had asked me to put together, the data necessary in order to create these charts and graphs, but he was gone and we didn't communicate well
Yeah.
over the weekend, sorry about that.
No, it was me, I was gone, so.
It's a lot of work to put it together, cause it has to be, all the information has to be drawn out of the quarterly reports. But my plan is to do it for all departments, I just didn't know exactly how you want it, so if this is it, I will get to work on that.
If this is something you guys wanna do, I mean, I would work with Chris or anybody, you could build out the Excel spreadsheets to drop things in, to create reports, so it's a consistent report building process. I mean,
Yeah, we can do that with jet reports, just so you don't have to pull everything and just run and do it all.
So I am taking jet reporting training coming
Okay.
up.
Yeah,
It's, you know, right now I'm still in that position of where like I'm drinking from the fire hose.
yep,
So, lots coming, and then we also had a software upgrade that has delayed a lot of our reporting. Misha's still trying to work out some of the finer details with Finley and Cook on that, but it's delayed bank recs and fund reporting, so we're
Okay.
getting there.
okay. I would talk to Chris, I mean, too, to see if there's a way that you can help run these reports, I don't know,
Absolutely.
yeah, so. The TIF areas, new rules for January 2024. I don't know if you get, I assume you're familiar with that, or with the bill, whatever they passed. It's retroactive to the beginning of 2023 for the TIF, for the budget. It's, you know
Yes.
more about it. Yeah.
So there was not huge TIF legislation passed, but different pieces of TIF legislation passed, I'll say, or RDC legislation. I think I could send you maybe a PowerPoint from the conference I was just at. It's from AIM, but it affected how we budget, that we can only do the one budget, we can't do budget updates, we have to set like what we are planning must be budgeted, even though there's still cash balances. My understanding is they want to see it budgeted exactly how we would work the regular city budget. And then little things, well, you can now use it for police and fire.
I thought that was only if you're under 50,000 people.
Well, I'll have to check the finer points of it. There were things like you won't be able to, the same appointing body can't appoint the president and the vice president. That was not one that I think got mentioned to you guys, so,
Yeah,
So the RDC wouldn't elect their president and vice president, they would be appointed by
correct.
one council, one mayor.
Right, right. But I'll send out that slideshow if I can find it, or PowerPoint presentation, and,
yeah.
you know, continue talking about it. I just, what
It's
you guys-
retroactive actually back to January 2023, correct?
Well,
Which is
there were
odd.
several different bills passed, so I think we're looking at it in an overarching way.
Okay.
So I think you have to look at each individual bill to know which parts are retroactive.
I
Okay,
think that would be the important part, cause anything that's retroactive, we need to determine what ducks we need to get in a row, basically,
Right.
immediately, if not sooner.
right,
And then we can look at everything else moving
Yeah.
forward.
Jeremy and I had talked about getting together with Manny for a meeting, and, cause they were kind of gone too, so we're trying to get all this stuff together. It's getting all the people in one room, so we'll work on it.
alright. How are you guys doing on the budgeting process?
We're coming along pretty nicely. We've got our big meetings with, so the individual department head meetings with the financial advisor, so FSG, next week. So that'll kind of finalize at least what we know right now. Revenue projections will still be coming in later, things like that, but we'll be able to start fine tuning. Everybody's got their initial budgets developed, but we haven't had those individual one-on-one meetings to refine those at all yet. So looking forward to August introduction, most likely, second meeting of August.
Okay. Okay. Do you guys wanna share those yet, or no, or do you wanna wait? till
I'd
we-
rather we meet and get them all refined before they become
Okay.
public documents. yeah.
Okay. Do you, by the next by next month, can we get write-ups from everybody then, and?
Yeah, I think we can have the summaries by, next month.
And will the budgets, you think, be done then by the next month, so we can start? Cause again, last year, there was a lot to do about, you know, going to the last hour. So,
Right,
I
and
mean,
if you remember, we didn't even really start the budget process till the end of August last year.
Yeah,
The intention is to not be pushed up against the October 31st deadline this year. So, yeah, that's the goal.
okay.
Do you want, I'm sorry, go ahead. Do you want them by the finance committee or the council meeting?
I want it by the finance committee, meeting, so we can, I'd like to have them before, truthfully, just so I can
Right,
go through them.
like the Wednesday before, a
That's
week
fine.
before? Okay,
That's fine.
alright.
One thing that I would ask, and I don't mean this in any negative way. I don't mean to bring up anything from the past, but I would ask until council, and this isn't a, hey, until Scott Fry sees it, I'm a nobody, but until council, who's gonna be voting on it, sees it, I would ask you to, not make assumptions with the group in general, that say, hey, you know what, and it looks like insurance cost is gonna go up by X%. Let's keep, whatever that looks like when you get everything compiled, let's kind of keep that close to the vest. Let's figure out what the totality of the budget looks like, and then we can determine where we are, because what I don't wanna do is kind of create the same firestorm that we had last year, where it was, you know, here's what it looks like the expenses are gonna be, here's what it looks like, you know, cost of living is gonna, you know, increase is gonna be, and then we have that whole battle back and forth
Yeah, we
of,
promise people raises based on, we have a firefighter literally in the room yelling bullshit as he's coughing and cussing as he's coughing.
I mean,
It's-
if we have to
it's
go through that again, we
ridiculous.
will, but it would just be easier if we kind of kept that, you know, amongst ourselves, and then figured out where we actually are with the numbers, with the projections, and then make the adjustments.
Yeah.
That way it's not setting, you know, potentially false, expectations.
Right,
So I would just throw that out there.
okay.
So you don't wanna have a public discussion about our proposed budget?
No, we will.
That's not what he's saying.
I think last year it was done at a all-company meeting or something like that.
Where you
It was a
guys,
special meeting, as I recall, a budget meeting. And it was in the morning and all
The
departments.
council
were there.
meeting?
it was not
No,
a council
it
meeting.
wasn't, that's the thing, it wasn't a council meeting, and it was just kind of, expectations, I think, were probably set there. That said, hey, you know, here's what it looks like.
This is what we're trying to
Yeah.
get, we're trying to get you
I would
X
just-
number
I would ask that we
and
don't do
raises.
that again. That's all.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Alright. Anybody got anything? That's all I got. Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks. Yeah. See if he's alright.